Good evening. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We have quite a full house here tonight. I think we have 150 guests, including those on Zoom. So welcome, welcome. We are here for one of the most treasured days at Albany Law School, Kate Stoneman Day. Today is the 31st celebration of this tremendous tradition, which began in 1994, 31 years. Thank you all for being here. We are especially privileged to have so many esteemed members of the bench. I was going to name them out, but I will inevitably forget someone. So I'm just going to say thank you all for being here, esteemed members of the bench. And we have many esteemed members of the bar, including our mayor. So welcome and thank you for your continued support of Albany Law School and Kate Stoneman Day. For those of you who are new to Kate Stoneman Day, and I know there are quite a few, you are in for a real treat. As you know, this event is named for the first woman to graduate from Albany Law School, Kathryn Kate Stoneman, class of 1898. Kate Stoneman challenged both the racial and the gender discriminatory laws of her day. And by doing so, she was the first woman admitted to practice law in the state of New York, and that was in 1886. This event today celebrates the goal of equality in and under the law. In 2009, Kate Stoneman was inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame in Seneca Falls, New York. We love to celebrate her life and her legacy this month in March for Women's History Month. But interestingly, now our keynote honoree, Judge Sheila Abdus-Salaam, also was born in March. And so we have even more of a reason to celebrate this month. I always feel particularly honored to be a part of the festivities. In fact, 23 years ago, in 2002, when I visited Albany Law School as a faculty candidate, my visit coincided fortuitously with Kate Stoneman Day. So after staying for the Stoneman program, it became clear to me that this was my home. And even after all these years of teaching here, I still get goosebumps every time I do Kate Stoneman Day. Such an inspiring celebration. Tonight, we welcome in the audience today someone special, a dear family member of Kate Stoneman, who just learned of or recently learned of our 31 years of celebration. Don't see where he went, but I know he's in there somewhere. There you are. Okay, I don't want to call you up. And thank you to law student Lila Dodge, who figured out the connection and brought Bruce here, Bruce William Stoneman Otto. Welcome. We hope you feel the love and the pride in this room tonight. Kate was Bruce's second great grand aunt on his mother's side. As Bruce tells us, there were 8 children altogether, starting with 4 boys and then 4 girls. Kate's oldest brother, George Stoneman, who's Bruce's second great grandfather maternal, was a general under Grant during the Civil War. On one of his last assignments, George received orders to ride deep into the South to disrupt the supply chains and to dismantle the network of plantations, freeing slaves and hanging those who got in his way. Later, he became the 13th governor of California. Another brother of Kate's, John Thompson, actually took classes here at Albany Law School during the summer before becoming an attorney and served 2 terms on the Superior Court in Iowa. So we thank Bruce for letting us know that information. He also let us know that it was a short time after her 14th birthday that she demanded to be called Kate, no more Kathryn. So now we know that. So welcome, Bruce, and thank you for being here. Tonight, 4 more honorees will join our prestigious circle of Kate Stoneman Award recipients, bringing the total to 104. 104 extraordinary individuals honored. And I would like to take a moment to ask those 104, whoever's in the audience, to please stand so we can applaud you. You did. You're one of the 104 now. You all continue to amaze and inspire us. We are so thrilled to add in 4 more to the circle of honorees. For Judge Ellerin, who's on Zoom today, hello, Judge, who probably doesn't realize this, but as a young lawyer starting out in New York City, I admired her from afar. She was seen as a feminist icon. She's now 95 and a half. She was also the head of a CLE committee for which I was appointed, and I admired her up close as well. She has been such a joy to work with in getting ready for today, and you will love hearing from her today on video. I'm also thrilled we are honoring Casey Petillo-Décossard and her lovely family. She has been so generous and wonderful with our female law students and her groundbreaking women's leadership initiative. Thank you for all you do for Albany Law School. I'm glad to honor you tonight as well. I'm especially touched to have Dean Ouellette here, who was first my colleague for many decades and then became my boss. Alicia has been consistently supportive of women faculty, women staff, women students. I am so very grateful for her leadership and her vision. But Alicia has always fought for gender rights in all of its facets. In fact, she argued a case about same-sex marriage in the Court of Appeals, a full circle moment for her as a former Court of Appeals clerk, and today as we honor Court of Appeals Judge Sheila Abdus-Salaam, another fighter for equality, dignity, and justice on all levels. I've always been so inspired by Judge Abdus-Salaam. And of course, I teach the very famous marriage equality Brooke SB case in my family law class and my gender in the law class. Such a beautifully written decision on such a hugely important topic that transformed family law in New York for the better. So you will see these threads of fighting for equality and fighting for gender rights and LGBTQ rights and racial equality. These principles will be weaved throughout the remarks today. All ideals which were so very important to Kate Stoneman. Tonight, you will also notice that the introducers of these awardees are supremely impressive themselves. Some of them are former awardees themselves. You will hear from the wonderful Judge Garry, Judge Rosado, Bria Barnes-Coleman, Judge Stein, Judge Acosta, Professor Lynch. Can we take a minute to celebrate them? And I want to take a minute to honor one in particular, a dear mentor of mine, who will be introducing Alicia tonight, Professor Mary Lynch. Mary has been an inspiration and a support of mine for decades, really since she interviewed me back in 2002 and hired me, I guess. This year she is retiring, not only in her 35 years of teaching, but in being the second Kate Stoneman Chair in Law and Democracy. She will be sorely missed, and I'd like an extra round of applause for her. I want to take a moment to acknowledge those who made today possible. Most notably, where are you? Sachi Vines. She's been my partner in crime who worked tirelessly. This is her first Kate Stoneman Day, but you would never know it. She's jumped in seamlessly and made tonight possible, so thank you. Tremendous thanks also to Lauren Minot, where are you? Who put together this gorgeous slideshow tonight, which you will see soon, and worked on publicity and programming. Also, so much work. We're grateful for Megan Goff-Pearson, Alex Peebles, Marcus Abad, Jeff Sieber, and really the entire communications team led by Tom Torello and the entire IA team led by Jeff Shantz. Thank you to Judge Leslie Stein and Heather Davis in the Court of Appeals for connecting us with Judge Sheila's family and sending us photos. And thank you so much to the judge's family members who are here today to help tell us a beautiful story of a beautiful life. Thank you all for being here, and we hope you enjoyed tonight. Thank you, Persia Wilkins, for laying yellow flowers on Kate's grave this month in honor of today. And of course, thank you to the law students involved, including the Women's Law Caucus members who are here to seat you, hand out programs, and their fearless co-chairs, Alexis Ferruccio, Tara McCoy. We also owe thanks and gratitude to our honorary Kate Stoneman Committee. It has been wonderful to work with this magnificent group of staff, faculty, law students, alums, who share a common goal and vision about how to celebrate Kate Stoneman's legacy. Thank you to each and every one of you. We'll take a moment of silence for those who are no longer with us as we continue a tradition emanating from that committee to honor one Stoneman awardee who has passed that year. Last month, we lost Professor Miriam M, who was a professor of law at Temple Law School. But in fall 2006, Professor Angel held the Kate Stoneman Professorship of Law and Democracy at Albany Law School. In the spring of 2007, she received the Kate Stoneman Award from us. She will be missed for her hearty laugh and steadfast commitment to diversity in the law. You will see her honored inside of tonight's published program. All of the awardees tonight are impressive and inspirational. They have bravely paved paths for so many of us as we rest upon their shoulders and walk in their footsteps. So many parallels exist between the awardees today and our very own Kate Stoneman in their pioneering and trailblazing spirits. Reading their nomination packets was overwhelmingly inspiring in so many ways, and you're in for a real treat to hear from them directly. So now it is time to move on to the next part of our program, a beloved part of our program, the Student Award. When we were planning the 25th anniversary, Betsy Katz, who couldn't be here today, the daughter of our beloved Kathy Katz, as well as Amy Kellogg and Lori Shanks, I saw Lori somewhere, Lori Shanks, generously offered to fund a Kathryn D. Katz Student Cash Prize. We challenged our current law students to describe how Kate Stoneman has inspired them and what would she be fighting for today. The students were encouraged to use any medium they wish to describe their inspiration. We've had so many beautiful submissions over the years, and we really ought to start a museum, which we might. This year's awards submissions are here displayed for us. This year, the committee had the pleasure of reading 8 separate submissions. We were able to read truly inspiring poems, hold a beautiful woven dowel, hear powerful recordings of a law student journey, read inspirational papers, and enjoy other creative ways to honor Kate Stoneman. Please stand if you are one of the submitters of these wonderful submissions. Thank you. All of your beautiful and creative submissions are up here at the table, and people can peruse them. Congratulations and thank you for participating. The law students exhibited such creativity and insight in their responses, and so the committee chose 2 winners this year to win the prize. The first winner of the prize is Kumika Dabney. You can tell me guys. Kumika knitted this beautiful doll you see of Kate Stoneman. And she wrote an 8-page memo that went with it, which I will not read for you, but let me read an excerpt. And I should mention that Kumiko also knitted a beautiful quilt last year as well. So here's what she says, again, just a brief excerpt. Similar to our quilt submission, my quilt submission from last year, as well as true for anything I make, every decision, every color, every stitch has meaning to the strength of Kate Stoneman, her life and the legacy she left, and continues to leave behind with every new law student that learns her story. I wanted the doll to be a realistic representation of Kate Stoneman with a few modern alterations to represent the women in law Kate Stoneman influences today. So thank you, Kamika. Our other award winner is Joanne Lee. Is she here today? Oh, she's on Zoom. Do you want to take it for her? Since you were one of the submitters as well, and okay. So Chloe will take it for her unexpectedly. Thank you. No, okay, yeah, right. Joanne wrote a beautiful and impactful poem about Kate Stoneman's legacy. And again, it was very long, so I'm only going to read a couple excerpts. You might recognize a reference here to the Dobbs case. Once a space for interpretation, discourse, delight, penumbra turns to reversal. Kiss the implied goodbye. No privacy, no protections. They care not if we bleed. The past beseeches us to not forget her sacrifice, her fight, her drive. Footsteps still echoing in our halls. She stands on display, a beacon, a warning to not forget how she paved the way, painstakingly, brick by brick. She laid mortar and pressed each step into the unforgiving ground so that we may have a smoother path, a brighter future. If she were here today, what would she fight for? The same as she had to then, the same as we must now. Pretty powerful poem. So please give the students all a round of applause again. And thank you for continuing on Kate Stoneman's legacy. It is now my distinct honor to welcome the 19th President and Dean, the wonderful Cinnamon Carlarne. Dean Carlarne will then introduce the dynamic Bria, who I see somewhere here. Okay. Dean Carlarne is only the third female dean and president at Albany Law School. This is her second Kate Stoneman Day, and we got her in as a groupie already. She has helped inspire the law school in so many ways, so please give thanks and a warm welcome to Dean Cinnamon Carlarne.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. So Professor Breger is right. This is my second Kate Stoneman. And I don't think there will ever, it's hard to replicate the first and just the impact that it has when you realize how special this day is and how much it represents who we are as a community, our history, our present, and our future. But it is really wonderful to join you here today for the 31st annual Kate Stoneman Day, a day that really is an essential part of the fabric of Albany Law School, and that really both reflects and embeds our long-standing and deep commitment to celebrating women leaders and to advancing equity in society and the rule of law. And I have to say, for that reason, I'm so happy to look around and see so many students here, so many people at every stage in their journeys, such a wonderful kind of representation. So Stoneman Day is a day with many facets, much like a woman leader in the legal field. It's an occasion to honor the legacy of Kate Stoneman, who of course was Albany Law's very first woman graduate and the first woman to be admitted to the bar in New York State. That's really remarkable. She came from here. She is part of us. She was a true trailblazer, and she was a true Albany Law leader, a legacy we continue. Today is also a day when, in Kate Stoneman's honor, we really reaffirm very loudly and clearly and proudly our commitment to the work that she started, the strength that she showed, the leadership she exhibited, and the power of women that she represented. And finally, today is a time to again very clearly and very intentionally celebrate the voices, the power, the successes, and the leadership of women in our society, and the influence that these many women leaders have had and continue to have in helping us move towards a much more inclusive and equitable understanding of the practice of law, the rule of law, and to the foundations of our democracy. So, thank you. Today, as Professor Breger already mentioned, we mark the culmination of a month that's dedicated to celebrating women's history and the many women like Kate Stoneman who have indelibly shaped the rule of law, our communities, and our law school. And of course, we also celebrate the many other women leaders. And last year, the winner of our student prize published a book that celebrated the untold history of women at Albany Law School, including the first Black woman graduate, Harriet Tucker Watkins, who graduated in 1970. So 72-ish years after Kate Stoneman. My math just got a little fuzzy there. So incredible women. So we're celebrating the many women who, like Kate Stoneman and who, like Harriet Tucker Watkins, have indelibly shaped us in really important ways. And we do so tonight by celebrating and honoring four really remarkable women. Women who, like Kate Stoneman, have shattered barriers, challenged conventions, and paved the way for generations of women to be leaders and change makers in our democracy. Each of the four remarkable women who we celebrate tonight have demonstrated exceptional dedication to advancing women in the legal profession and beyond. Through their leadership, their advocacy, their mentorship, and their scholarship, these honorees are carrying forward Kate Stoneman's vision of a more just and equitable and effective world. So now I have the honor of sharing just a little bit about the extraordinary group of women who we are honoring tonight. And you'll hear much more about them and from them as we move through the evening. So let me start off by congratulating our first three winners. First, the Honorable Betty Weinberg Ellerin, who of course is joining us online, a woman of many firsts. Justice Ellerin was the first woman appointed as Justice to the Appellate Division First Department. She was also the first to serve as presiding justice of that court. Throughout her long and distinguished career in the judiciary, she has fought to advance women in the legal profession and continues to do so today. As our own Justice Garry, current presiding justice of the Third Department, and someone who deeply understands the challenges and the opportunities and possibilities, but especially the challenges faced by women in law, as Justice Garry stated, there is no single person who has done more to advance the interests of women in the law than Justice Ellerin. Justice Ellerin is a trailblazer among trailblazers, and I'm very grateful that we get to recognize her contributions tonight. And next, we are honoring someone for whom I have the deepest appreciation and gratitude, and whom really, to me, represents the heart of what it means to be an Albany law leader, Kimberly Petillo-Décossard, class of 2005. Yes, let's clap. Casey, as we know her, and her husband, Saki Décossard, who is also here tonight, thank you, were the driving force behind really the founders of the Women's Leadership Initiative at Albany Law School, which we launched in 2020, thanks to their inspiration and support. Casey has long been a champion for empowering women law students, providing them with resources, support, and mentoring they need to succeed in traditionally very often male-dominated areas of legal practice. Now, 5 years after her brilliant idea and persistence came to fruition, the Women's Leadership Initiative is thriving, and I'm looking at many of our fellows and our director here today. And it has really helped Albany Law School be recognized as one of the top schools in the nation for women's leadership. But more importantly, it's helping us produce that next generation of women leaders, giving them the strength and the confidence and the skills and the tools that they need. So thank you, Casey, for all you've done and for all you continue to do for our school. Now, moving to another Albany Law inspiration. So tomorrow morning, I will have the honor of attending the unveiling of the portrait of my predecessor, Albany Law School's 18th president and dean emerita, Alicia, Ouellette, class of 1994. Now, while tomorrow we celebrate her legacy, and we'll keep doing that for a while, tonight we have the honor of recognizing her and thanking her for all of the meaningful ways she helped nurture and build the wonderful, thriving Albany Law School that we know today, as well as to celebrate her for all she's accomplished as a scholar, a teacher, and a leader. Alicia took the helm of Albany Law at a very challenging time in the school's history. She embraced Albany Law's tradition of innovation in legal education, launching new programs such as our online graduate degrees, the innovative Flex JD program, which is awesome and thriving, and she helped secure the largest gift in our nearly 175-year history to endow our wonderful, very impactful Justice Center. And she completed a successful $33 million campaign, all of which really, truly inspires us, but also gives us the foundation to do all of the good work that we know we want to do. So today I have the honor of leading a thriving school, thanks in large part to her vision and her leadership and her persistence. So Alicia, it's really wonderful to have you back here on campus, and congratulations. And finally, tonight, we will recognize the late Judge Sheila Abdus-Salaam with the Miriam M. 72 Kate Stoneman Award. Judge Abdus-Salaam was the first African-American woman to serve as a judge on New York's highest court. Through her brilliant career, the judge fought to dismantle the gender and racial biases that are inherent in our legal system. She became an icon and a beacon of hope for women of color seeking legal career, and really for all women. By honoring her here tonight, we hope to do justice to her legacy and share her story and all that she's accomplished and all of the foundations that she laid for the next generation of lawyers and leaders who will follow in her footsteps. So to everybody here, thank you so much for joining us tonight and for all of the support for all of these incredible women leaders throughout the years. And congratulations to all of our honorees. And now it is my pleasure to invite up to the podium another very powerful woman leader who I couldn't think more highly of, and that is the remarkable Bria Barnes-Coleman, who is the inaugural director of the Women's Leadership Initiative and Community Engagement. And Bria is going to help introduce our next honoree, and I'm so proud she's part of our community. Bria, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. This is a celebration. Good evening, everyone. My name is Bria Barnes-Coleman, and I thank you, Dean Carlarne, for that lovely introduction. But I am here with the privilege, excuse me, and the joy to introduce a truly exceptional woman, Kimberly C. Petillo-Décossard, and family, because this is a family award. As co-head of White & Case Global Mergers and Acquisitions Practice, KC is widely recognized as a powerhouse in corporate law. She advises some of the most influential companies, founders, and boards on high-stake mergers, acquisitions, governance, and strategic transactions across industries like biotechnology, energy, healthcare, and technology. Her legal brilliance, deal-making expertise, and more have earned her prestigious accolades, including Dealmaker of the Year by the American Lawyer and recognition as Mergers and Acquisitions MVP by Law 360. But Casey's impact extends far beyond the boardroom. She's a champion for access, education, and women's leadership. As the founder of Albany Law School's Women's Leadership Initiative, also known as the WLI, she created a thriving program now in its 5th year, dedicated to empowering women law students to succeed. It also is meant to empower all students to empower women to succeed. Her mentorship, advocacy, and leadership have inspired students, alums, and professionals alike to be bold in their aspirations, fearless in their networking, and committed to their own growth and wellness. KC doesn't just speak about the importance of women's leadership. She actively calls for change. At our reunion event this fall that just passed, she urged not just women, but every single person at the event to dig deep and to become vocal and active allies as we empower women to strive for their dreams. Her words were not just inspiring, but a call to action. I'm going to say that again. Her words were a call to action. Leaving a lasting impression on everyone in the room, we walked away from that brunch feeling empowered, inspired, and ready to take on something new. In our nomination letter, co-written by myself and 3 co-chairs, Emily Bello, Madison Marshall, and Lela Dodge, we wrote, because of Kate Stoneman, Albany Law School embraces women in leadership as the norm. Because of KC, 41 students have experienced the fellowship program. 30 alumna have reconnected with the community as mentors. 12 students have led programming and planning as co-chairs. 10 fellows have now graduated as proud alums. And one particular director never dreads a day in the office. This is just the beginning of Casey's legacy. Join me in congratulating Kimberly Petillo-Décossard. You tell me what you want me to do. Okay. Casey, for your record of extraordinary achievements and commitment to the ideals of Kate Stoneman, we are honored to present you with this award.
Thank you. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm gonna give Mr. Suckey.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Bria, for that gracious and warm introduction, and for the incredible and tireless work you do every day for the WLI and to advance our mission. And to each of those fellows, you're just incredible, and you're the reason why this program exists. And I appreciate you. Thank you for trusting us with your future. Thank you to the Kate Stoneman Awards Committee for this honor, and congratulations to all of our other award recipients. It's a privilege to share this evening with you, and in particular, Dean Ouellette, who is the very first champion of the WLI. And along with Jeff Shantz and Dean Fitzpatrick and Dean Queenan and now Dean Carlarne, I can't thank you enough for your support and endless work to advance our mission and for all of the work you continue to do on behalf of the WLI. And of course, a very special thank you to my family, to my parents here and watching at home for your contagious belief in me always, to my husband, WLI co-founder and my #1 fan, Sakis, for your endless love, support, and patience. And to my 3 children, Dominic, Natalie, and Gigi, you show me every day what authentic leadership and unconditional love looks like, and I adore you and admire each of you. Helping to create this program and seeing the driven and talented future lawyers who are flourishing with WLI support has been one of the highlights of my career. Regardless of the type of day I'm having, whenever I turn to WLI matters, I can feel my demeanor shift, my mood lighten, and my attention heighten, because I know that the work that we're doing here with the WLI matters. And quite frankly, it matters just as much as closing my next M&A transaction. And it matters all the more today. While preparing these remarks, I took a moment to review the book that was referenced earlier by 2 ambitious women in our Albany law community, Cassandra Pointer, class of 25, and Brianna Wagner, class of 24. Their impressive research highlights Kate Stoneman and the many other women who followed in her footsteps here at Albany Law. And while Kate's incredible achievements rightly deserve the lion's share of our attention when we think about our school's history, Cassandra and Brianna shine a light on another period of our history that I found more instructive. Kate graduated in 1898, and for each of the next 25 years or so, Albany's bulletin proclaimed right there in black and white that, quote, sex is no longer a bar for admission. In fact, in the 24-25 academic year, 23 women were enrolled. During this period, some graduated with honors, one of them with the highest GPA in the school. In that moment, it must have seemed like progress was here to stay. But new leadership arrived in 1929, the namesake of this very room, Dean Alexander, and he quietly struck the language from the school bulletin about women's admissions. And soon, qualified women were denied entry under what was clearly an exclusionary policy, even if it was never made official. One exceptional female applicant was told in 1937, it would be a waste of time for you to fill out an application, as Albany law didn't accept women. It turns out progress is never here to stay. In fact, the fragility of progress we have made in diversifying the legal profession is apparent in the numbers. According to NALP's 2024 data, while over 50% of full-time associates are women, only 29% are partners, and a number that decreases to 25% when looking at equity partners, which is the crown jewel of private practice. And if we break those numbers down further, the percentage of women associates of color hover around 19%, with just over 5% of all partners being women of color, a figure that remains abysmally low due to significant underrepresentation of both women and people of color at the partnership level. In fact, over the period that NALP has been reporting this data, the gains for women and partners of color have been minimal at best. In 1991, people of color accounted for approximately 2% of partners, and women accounted for approximately 11% of partners. 33 years later, these figures have only improved by approximately 11 and 18 percentage points, respectively. And drilling down to my particular area of law, mergers and acquisitions, a study analyzing 700 M&A transactions over a 5-year period found that women accounted for only 10.5% of lead legal advisor positions. These numbers reflect my lived experience. In 2025, I still am very often the only woman in the room. And these low numbers of women leaders don't just exist in the law. The same percentage, 10.5%, is the percentage of Fortune 500 companies that are led by female CEOs, despite data that shows very clearly that returns on deals led by women are 2% higher than those led by men. That's millions and billions of dollars of lost returns when women aren't given the opportunity to lead deals. To put a fine point on all of this, the World Economic Forum estimates that at the current pace of progress, achieving gender parity will take 134 years, roughly 5 generations, projecting us to the year 2058. This very stark statistic underscores the urgent need to accelerate action, the theme of this year's International Women's Day, to address the systemic barriers and biases that women encounter in both their personal and professional lives. As we know, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice." And I believe that's right. But Albany's history, MLK's lifelong mission, the statistics that I cite, and recent events all serve to remind us that the arc of the universe doesn't bend towards justice because of some immutable law of physics. Our destination, grounded in justice, is not guaranteed. We cannot simply be confident that over a long enough time horizon, everything will simply turn out okay. It won't. We are simply not along for this ride. Rather, as MLK and Kate Stoneman showed us through their examples, individuals and like-minded groups must stand up. We must act in line with our values. We must exert our will to create a better and more just universe. For if we do not, the achievements and progress of those who came before us can and will be lost. As legal professionals and aspiring legal professionals, when you see injustice, when you see something that needs change, you cannot sit back and wait for someone else to take the lead. Rather, I believe we must redouble our commitment to creating, empowering, and supporting strong women leaders for this generation and for every generation to follow. That is Kate Stoneman's legacy, and that is the mission of the WLI. I'll leave you with a quote from Admiral Lisa Franchetti, the recently dismissed first woman chief of naval operations and first woman to serve on the Joint Chiefs of Staff, which I think Kate Stoneman would agree with. I don't give a lot of time to thinking about being the first, but what I think about is that this is the last time that anyone will have to be the first woman to be on the Joint Chiefs of Staff. So I hope that other folks will continue to be inspired by the opportunities I've had and continue to do all the things that they want to do in their lives. I've always thought, if you can see it, you can be it. So thank you to everyone here who leads by example and supports WLI through your donations, through your leadership, through your time, and through your effort. This is your program, and this is part of our collective commitment to accelerating action. Thank you.
It is a great honor and a great joy to be here to introduce, sharing the podium with my friend and colleague, Judge Rosado, to introduce Justice Betty Weinberg Ellerin tonight. Hello, I hope you can see us. Before I speak about her, and I also recognize there are a lot of judges in the room, but I do have to mention that it's my joy tonight to be sitting next to two of the judges of our state's highest court. We're joined tonight by Honorable Michael Garcia and Honorable Caitlin Halligan. And you know, I got to say that the third department is also very well represented here tonight. You know, So we have the Honorable Christine Clark. We have the Honorable Sharon Aarons, the Honorable Molly Reynolds Fitzgerald, although they're hiding somewhere. I saw them come in. There they are, way up in the top, in the cheap seats up there. And we have the Honorable Eddie McShann. And thank you for coming to join us tonight. The first thing that I think you need to know about Justice Ellerin is that throughout her entire storied, amazing career, Justice Ellerin has always promoted others. And so promoting her for this award, so easy. In my nomination letter, in addition to what you heard from Professor Breger, I wrote that for a woman in the law, to know Justice Ellerin is to love her. I wrote that her name is said with a mix of awe and reverence. She is shrewd, strong, and supportive. The second thing I should share, and this will echo a little bit of what the dean shared earlier, but it deserves some repetition because she earned a whole big, long list of firsts, serving in various roles at a time when women were generally excluded. Very briefly, her legal career began in 1952 and her judicial career in 1977. These were not easy times, folks. She was the first woman to serve as a deputy chief administrative judge overseeing the operation of all trial courts in New York City in 1982. In 1985, she became the first woman to serve on the Appellate Division First Department. And she went on to become the first woman to serve as the presiding justice of that court in 1999. Her contributions following her judicial service and continuing to this day are so notable that the New York State Judicial Committee on Women in the Courts was renamed in her honor. I emphasized that her contributions are certainly continuing. And I want to share that in a recent interview, I love this quote, so I want to share that she said, she was asked about the status of women in the law, Casey, as along the lines that you just shared. She offered this concise summary. We've come a long way, not far enough. We still have a way to go, and we are not giving up. One final personal note of appreciation before I turn it over to Judge Rosado, because I want to note that it's not only women that she supports. She understands oppression, stigma, prejudice deeply, and she fights against those evils at every turn. Not too long ago, I had an opportunity to hear her take a strong position for the LGBTQ plus community. And for her words, for her passion, for her caring, I am personally and deeply forever grateful. In short, Betty Weinberg Ellerin is a stand-up gal, and she stands for justice. Judge Rosado, thank you.
How do I follow that? First of all, I have to shout out my Bronx friend, Veronica Guerrero, Judge of Court of Claims, who drove up here just so I wouldn't do it alone. First of all, Kate Stoneman is so exciting. I've already cried, laughed, smiled. So this is an entire entertainment. It is my honor to co-present the Kate Stoneman Award to the extraordinary Honorable Betty Weinberg Ellerin, and to do it with another extraordinary person, PJ Garry. While completing the nomination form and compiling the necessary attachment, I spoke to women across New York State who all strongly supported her nomination. And why not? Judge Ellerin embodies the spirit, the courage, and the determination and trailblazing that Kate Stoneman exemplified. Like Kate Stoneman, Judge Ellerin has not only demonstrated unwavering grit, remember that word from last year? In the face of adversity, challenging the status quo and pushing boundaries to achieve equality and justice. Her commitment to mentoring, supporting, and empowering women in the law has left a mark in our profession. Her groundbreaking work has paved the way for countless women to follow in her first step, including us two up here. What's truly remarkable about this lady, Judge Ellerin, is that she continues to fight for the cause, even at the young age of 95 and a half. She remains a shining example of what it means to live a life of purpose and service. As co-chair of the Honorable Betty Weinberg Ellerin Committee on Women in the Courts, Judge Ellerin continues to inspire and empower women. All this while going to work at a law firm, serving on other committees, and serving on judicial panels to make sure that more women become judges. I don't know what to do with this mic. I'm sorry, I'm a Bronx girl. And if that was not enough, what I just said to you, to so many of us, to so many women, Betty Weinberg Ellerin is a sister's sister. The kind that fixes your tiara and doesn't tell anyone that she did. She hails from the Bronx as well. And in the Bronx, we affectionately call her New York's notorious BWE, because she is a living legend. This award is a testament to Judge Ellerin's tireless efforts to create a more just and equitable society. She is doing this for the girls that she will never meet, that haven't even been born. We are honored to recognize her contributions and celebrate her legacy. Judge Ellerin, please accept our deepest gratitude and admiration for your remarkable achievements. We love you. And now I'm going to read what the award says to you, Judge Ellerin. Judge Betty Weinberg Ellerin, for your record of extraordinary achievements and commitment to the ideals of Kate Stoneman, we are honored to present you with the 2025 Kate Stoneman Award.
I don't know what to say. I'm crying, which, as you know, is not unusual for me. Those were both such beautiful remarks. I must say, I really regret not being able to be with you all tonight. But the weather and my need for a wheelchair accessible vehicle just counted that out. But I'm with you in spirit, and I'm using the modern technology that I ordinarily am not a big fan of. But to bring me in touch with you all, I suddenly love it. I can't tell you how touched I am, and I'll get to that in 1 minute, but I do want to thank the Albany Law School, its remarkable president and dean, and Professor Melissa Breger, for their leadership roles in acknowledging the crucial role that women have played and continue to play in our legal system. and indeed in our society. I trust, of course, I must, of course, also acknowledge and profusely thank the four remarkable and incomparable judges who nominated me for this honor in the order of the length of our friendships. First, Judge Shirley Troutman, an extraordinary judge on our Court of Appeals, where she is not only an extraordinary jurist, but she frequently writes the course of a diverse and sometimes sharply divided group. It's hard to say no to Shirley. Next, Presiding Justice Beth Garry. Beth, I really was in tears when you were speaking. You know how highly I think and revere you. And what I am so proud of the way you have been as presiding justice of a court that has such a varied group of judges. They all love you, whatever their backgrounds, and you're respected by them all. And that's really wonderful. Having had a stint as PJ, I know that's not an easy mark to reach. Then recently retired Court of Claims Judge Marcia Hirsch. Marcia is a miracle worker in the sense that she sees a problem in the courts, she defines it, she tells you how it could be resolved, and then she goes ahead and resolves it. She really is remarkable. And finally, the indomitable and irrepressible Associate Justice of the Appellate Division, First Department, the Honorable Lynét Rosado, my co-chair of the New York State Court Systems Committee on Women in the Courts. I flatter myself by saying she's a younger me. She is truly incredible. I often say she's dynamite. There's nothing that Lynét can't ultimately do. And coming into my life at this stage, I keep saying, why didn't we meet earlier? She really is fabulous. And I know I'm leaving the committee in the best possible hands. I also want to acknowledge, although I didn't see him on the screen, another speaker, former presiding judge Rolando Acosta. Although we never sat together, I believe we would have done great things together. We're both pretty liberal judges, and he is a wonderful respecter and advocate of women's rights, and the perfect person to speak about the late Honorable Sheila Abdus-Salaam, whom I loved and still mourn. Now, getting the Kate Stoneman Award is an honor and privilege, and that means more than I can say. She has been the subject and heroine of more of my speeches over the years than I can count, keeping in mind the time when she spoke out publicly and forcefully for women's suffrage and became the first woman in this state to become a lawyer. What a coup. Although I was born in the Bronx to immigrant Jewish parents with extraordinary grandparents who spoke no English, but were the kindest and most compassionate people I've ever known, I grew up in my younger years in a small town in Connecticut, and from my earliest days was a feminist, although that term was not yet in style. I remember from the very first time I heard, you can't do that, you're a girl. Well, that was unacceptable to me. As far as I was concerned, and acceptance for certain gymnastics, because I'm a klutz, girls could do anything that boys could do, and in most cases, better. I was committed to demonstrating that girls were equal to or better than boys in all intellectual exercises and in public affairs. Something I carried back with me when we moved back to the Bronx and throughout my life. I realized that in order to get things done, you have to have a group working to accomplish your goals. So in both high school and college, I was active in forming groups that were for equality for all and groups that recognized the value and significance of women's voices and their work. Ultimately, I became president many years later of the National Association of Women Judges. And I was exposed to various academic studies in the late 1970s that indicated that women as a group were not being fairly treated in our court systems. Isn't that unbelievable that our system of justice was biased? That against women, that was shocking to me. It was emphasized that in order to expose such injustice, you needed proof that would be persuasive. So that led to the quote, task force movement. At that time, we had an unusual chief judge named Lawrence Cook from Monticello, New York. He was extraordinary in many ways, very fair to women, to minorities, to young people, appointing them to various commissions and committees. And some judges weren't so fond of him because he had the audacity to say that 4 weeks was enough of a vacation for a judge instead of 6, and that judges did have an obligation to do some work on Fridays. Notwithstanding that he was a wonderful friend to women, minorities, and others, he couldn't believe that women were being treated with bias and unfairness in his court system. And he was offended when we urged him to set up a committee or task force to investigate the issue. However, in the early 1980s, at our behest, he did so, and I was somewhat upset because instead of staffing or appointing members to the committee who were obviously sympathetic to the issues, affecting women, he instead appointed many highly respected doyens of the bar, male, and establishment leaders whom we feminists thought would not understand the areas of bias against women. But I've got to admit, he was right, I was wrong. Because after 2 years of meetings, hearings, and the like, the task force issued a report that concluded that our court system was infected with bias against women in various ways, particularly in matrimonial and domestic violence cases, and also even in giving women court assignments. And not only did the report point out the areas of bias, but they made very specific recommendations as how to address the various biases and wrongs. And the establishment figures that he appointed to the committee were truly the greatest advocates for those recommendations and the changes urged by the report. And of course, because they had such credibility in the profession when the report was issued, that had a great impact. Now, when the report was issued in the mid-1980s, Judge Cook had come to the end of his term shortly before, and Judge Saul Wachtler had come in as the new chief judge. He said that he was embracing the report, and he immediately did so in the sense that he enthusiastically appointed a committee to implement the recommendations that were in the report that were designed to correct the various wrongs. He appointed the late Judge Kathryn McDonald as chair of the committee. That was an inspired choice. Um, she, she's unfortunately long gone. She was wonderful. She had been the administrative judge of the family court. She was also the architect of setting up chapters in individual county, counties, and they were the local chapters throughout the state, because the state was not singular and different areas had different problems and different willingness to embrace the problems and solve them. So that was really a very smart move. Incidentally, the local committee in Albany, I must say, has always been one of the most active and effective, and I thank you and congratulate you all. Well, many things have improved over the years, but we had heard from various localities that many gender-based problems still existed and were not in any way being addressed. Well, we felt that we as a committee should look into that, and so we decided to get a new survey to get from the ground what was really going on. And notwithstanding COVID, we did so. We sent out the survey, many of us working, nights and during the days at our firms. And we received responses that were a mixed bag. In some cases, we were proud that corrections had taken place, but in others, we found that there were still abuses that continued. Two glaring issues were evident. One, the lack of credibility given to the testimony of women in various trials, and of course, particularly in domestic violence cases, by both men and women judges, who at this point were a substantial number. And the other issue was the underpayment of women for their work compared with the payment to men for the same jobs. I don't remember what the statistics were in the first report, but I was shocked and dismayed within the last couple of weeks to hear that not our survey, but a survey done by one of the media channels, that women were getting, I believe it was 86% of the salary that men did for the same job. Now that's intolerable. Kate Stoneman would not have tolerated that at all. And she would have been very disappointed in us that we allowed that to continue. We are now raising the issue very emphatically, hoping to change it. I may not be around to see it, but I know that Judge Rosado will be helping lead the charge, and hopefully within the foreseeable future, we will be successful in making sure that women are not only paid equally, but that their work is appreciated by all in our community. That means their work as homemakers and mothers in conjunction with their jobs. Let me thank you again for this wonderful award. It is truly inspirational to me, and I'm so sorry I could not be with you all, but at least I have been able to speak with you, and I look forward to speaking to my members, etc., who were there, and I know we will enjoy the colloquy. Again, thank you.
Thank you, Judge. I'm Professor Mary Lynch, the Kate Stoneman Chair in Law and Democracy, which I keep saying we need a lot of these days. On behalf of the many faculty, staff, students, and alum who nominated her for this award, I am honored to speak today about Alicia Ouellette and how worthy she is to become a named heir to Kate Stoneman. Many of us know Alicia as a friend, as our former dean, former colleague, former professor, and even former student. Alicia's impact on Albany Law School is legendary. Diane Phillips, vice president of our board, noted in her letter supporting the nomination that Alicia became president and dean at a time when law schools across the country were experiencing record enrollment declines, with many of them closing doors. Alicia turned us around. While accomplishing achievements critical to the law school's flourishing, Alicia also focused on issues that had always been near and dear to her heart and her sense of justice. These important issues included reproductive rights, parenting, mentoring young people for a pipeline into the profession, and equity efforts to overcome gender, disability, race, and LGBTQI discrimination. She knew that DEI excellence makes our school better and stronger. She was determined to move Albany Law School to a place in which all would feel welcome and be welcomed. Before Alicia's deanship, there was no DEI office or DEI director at Albany Law, no diversity week. She hired our first DEI director and eventually the incomparable Jermaine Cruz, who directs our DEI, which is linked with excellence, because it is always linked with excellence. Alicia often worked behind the scenes, supporting communication about departments and groups of allies. During her tenure as president and dean, she greatly and intentionally expanded diversity on the board of trustees, including, importantly, gender diversity. She also encouraged and enabled visionaries, such as Casey Petillo-Décossard, a sister nominee who founded the luminous WLI, and Ed Swire, whose vision enabled the Community Economic Development Clinic to come into being, and for whom the Justice Center is incredibly grateful for all the incredible support he and his gift had given to us. But it was Alicia's ability to see visionaries and to link them with our institution to make this happen. That was kind of her superpower. She needs a cape. I forgot the cape. Through all these new exciting initiatives, Alicia loyally never forgot about the importance of historical initiatives, such as Stoneman Day. As a professor and a kind human, Alicia was and is well known for her extensive mentoring of those trying to balance law school or a legal career with family responsibilities. Alicia came to law school as a mother of a preschooler, Molly, who is here with us today. I remember them both in matching navy blue clogs. I had never seen clogs that small. In her third year, serving as only the second woman editor of the Albany Law Review, she gave birth to her son, her second child. What Alicia did was she used her knowledge of how challenging those days were, no matter how rewarding, how challenging. So she worked tirelessly to make the balance easier for those who came after her, to inspire women and parents to find ways to choose both personal and professional dreams. As a professor teaching reproductive rights, she was often a confidant for students struggling with unanticipated pregnancies, infertility, or reproductive health issues, often accompanying them to Planned Parenthood or other health appointments. During her time as Associate Dean, she worked to expand and enhance a more appropriate space than this like closet for nursing mothers. Another equity issue she championed was equity for faculty, particularly in areas of the curriculum primarily staffed by women. As dean, she prioritized working with faculty leaders to successfully, such as Professor Breger and Professor Clark, working to successfully expand opportunities and create a unitary tenure track. Recently, she just did the same in her first months of her deanship at Lewis and Clark. Alicia supported members of our extended Albany law community, including me, through family joys and troubles as we navigated the ups and downs of life. Deaths of loved ones, children's milestones, caretaking burdens, and health upsets. Alicia empathized, consoled, problem solved, often directing us to doctors that she or her husband Jake knew, and then celebrated us with us when we were surprised by joy. Before she stepped down as dean, Alicia made sure we were in excellent hands and helped convince our stellar current dean, Cinnamon Carlarne, to become our fearless leader and to come here. And we are very grateful to her for that. Beyond the law school, Alicia demonstrated equity leadership both as a young lawyer and then as a hugely productive scholar. As the dean mentioned, Court of Appeals Judge Howard Levine revealed in an Albany Law Review article that as a law clerk, Alicia convinced him to change his mind in a precedent-setting adoption case for LGBTQI adoption rights. Judge Levine wrote in an Albany Law Review article, Alicia's tenacity and analytical skill ultimately persuaded me to switch my vote to create a majority in favor of the adoption. I am proud of that vote, as I know what Alicia is of the part she played in it. As a scholar, Alicia has transformed the conversation in the disability and bioethics space, advocating for fuller recognition of the whole person who happens to have disabilities, including their sexual and reproductive being and needs. She also engaged with challenging issues of body modification to support trans adolescents and their families dealing with these issues. She's the author of over 30 publications and a book recently published into Japanese. I'm sure we've all read it in Japanese. She explored the ways in which social and legal constructions of gender, identity, disability, and sexuality are expressed in the legal system. And most importantly, how those expressions serve or fail to serve the interests of justice. Just like our shero, Kate Stoneman, Alicia has influenced other women to pursue legal careers and has opened doors that historically have been closed to women lawyers and to young people generally. So Alicia, please join me at the podium so you can accept an award you so very well deserved. Oh, you gotta hold there. I'll hold this one so we don't drop it.
We could totally drop something.
Yeah, we've done some klutzy things like in restaurants. We've had a
We
lot.
had a woman with hair on fire that literally that Mary put out.
Yeah, yeah. For your record of extraordinary achievements and commitment to the ideals of Kate Stoneman, we are honored to present you with the 2025 Kate Stoneman Award. I will predict for you.
Thank you, Mary. It's a lot to hear about oneself. Mary was my advisor when I was a student. We were very young and we've come a long way together, but That was amazing, Mary. Thank you so much. I'm deeply honored to receive the Kate Stoneman Award and to stand in the company of the extraordinary women who have received it before me. Kate's story is one of persistence, resilience, and let's be honest, a little bit of stubbornness that I deeply admire. She didn't just accept defeat, she changed the law. That's the kind of audacity that deserves not just recognition, but repetition. To be associated with her legacy and with the remarkable Stoneman honorees before me is humbling. Each of them, in her own way, refused to accept the status quo and worked to open doors for others. If there's one thing that we know about doors, it's that once they're kicked open, they don't easily shut again, at least not if we have anything to say about it. I've been fortunate in my career that I haven't had to kick through doors. I wasn't a first. I was able to push through doors opened by Kate Stoneman and the incredible women who followed her, allowing me to go places I never could have imagined. But those doors weren't always wide open. Sometimes they were too narrow. Sometimes they were a little sticky, especially when I tried to pass through them with babies in my arms. My two children, Molly and Sam, were part of the package, and I needed the door to be wide enough to accommodate all that that entailed. I wasn't the first person with children determined to make a career in the law, but I was acutely aware at every step of the privilege that I had in making my role as a parent a visible and unapologetic priority. And I believed it was essential to keep those doors wide open for those who followed. One of the greatest joys and privileges of my professional life has been to advocate for and mentor the people coming after me. Students, young lawyers, and especially those who are raising families while navigating law school and legal careers. The message is often that law is an all-consuming profession, that success requires sacrifice, and that families should somehow take a back seat. I reject that. I believe we're better lawyers, better people, when we embrace the fullness of who we are. Women in this profession are not just fierce advocates in the courtroom. We are fierce advocates in our own homes, for our own children, for our own families, and for the right to build both a career and a life. And that right is one we must protect now more than ever. The ability to make choices about our families, when and how to have them, how to support them, how to balance our roles as professionals and caregivers is fundamental. It's not incidental to justice. It's at the heart of it. That means fighting for policies and legal structures that support all families, single parents, parents with disabilities, immigrant parents, LGBTQ+ parents, incarcerated parents, and those in more traditional family settings. It means ensuring that reproductive choice and bodily autonomy remain protected so that every person has the power to decide their own future. And it means standing up against unjust systems, against forced pregnancies, against policies that isolate children of undocumented individuals, and against laws that deny the identity and rights of non-binary and trans people. But more than anything, it means cultivating a legal profession that understands that justice is not just about law on the books. It's about people. It's about compassion. In these times, when we see families under attack, when we see children and parents used as political talking points instead of human beings in need of love and security, we need more lawyers who treasure family and children, who understand their worth, and who will fight to ensure that no one has to choose between being a parent and being a professional. I'm proud of the work that we did at Albany Law School to build that kind of legal community, to support parents, to foster an environment where career and family are not at odds, and to push for a profession that reflects the real lives of the people that we serve. Kate Stoneman did not just break barriers for herself. She made sure this path stayed open for others. The individuals who have received this award before me have done the same. And I hope that in some way, that my own work through mentorship, advocacy, teaching, scholarship, leadership, and sheer persistence has helped carry that legacy forward. So to Albany Law School, to those who nominated me, to my fellow awardees, to the incredible men and women that I've had the privilege to mentor and work beside, I want to say thank you. This award is not just a recognition, it is a call to action. And if we ever find a door that won't open or that's a little stuck, well, we all know what Kate would do with it. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Congratulations to our extraordinary award recipients. I am always inspired and moved after learning about and hearing from those who are selected to receive the prestigious Kate Stoneman Awards, and tonight is certainly no exception. I want to give a special welcome to the members of the family of Honorable Sheila Abdus-Salaam who are here tonight. Christine Jackson and her daughter Monet, who I had a chance to speak with this afternoon. Stanford Turner and Shireen Turner, who came from Maryland and Washington, D.C. to be here with us. And we so appreciate it, and we appreciate you. I also want to give a note of thanks to Judge Abdus-Salaam's longtime law clerk who couldn't be here tonight, Deb Wohl, but she is, I believe, with us on Zoom, and she was really helpful in facilitating our contacts with her family and learning more about Judge Abdus-Salaam. And similarly, I want to thank again the Chief Clerk of the Court of Appeals, Heather Davis, for her help. My role tonight is to speak very briefly about the late Judge Sheila Abdus-Salaam, to introduce a slideshow that has been created by our talented Kate Stoneman Day Planning Committee, and finally, to introduce our keynote speaker. While I could talk for hours about my dear friend, Sheila, who will tonight receive the Miriam M. Kate Stoneman Award, I will be very brief in doing so because I want to leave that principally to our keynote speaker, Justice Acosta. What I mostly want to try to convey is the special person Judge Abdus-Salaam was and how much she meant to me personally as a colleague and a friend. From the first time I met her until the last communication I had with her, Sheila made me feel like I was the most important person in the world. The fact is that she was like that with everyone. From your first introduction, she remembered your name and who you were, no matter how much time passed until the next time your paths crossed. Even during a conversation in a crowded room, she focused on you alone and listened intently to what you had to say. Sheila was warm and selfless. She always had time for those who needed her. She almost never said no. When I first became a judge on the Court of Appeals, I was immediately drawn to Sheila for advice or to talk through a decision. She was always reasonable and, like I was, eager to try to reach consensus among the judges when possible. She was brilliant and hardworking, but no matter how busy she was, she always took my call, and I never felt hurried to get off the phone. What would generally begin as a discussion about a case would inevitably turn to more personal matters. When the court lost Sheila as a valued and beloved jurist and colleague, I felt that I also lost a dear and trusted friend. For those here who were not fortunate enough to have met her, and for those who did have that good fortune, the Stoneman Committee has put together a slideshow, which, in addition to Justice Acosta's words, we hope will bring her a little closer to you tonight, as she would have wanted to be. So before I introduce our keynote speaker, we will now present that slideshow. And now I have the tremendous honor of introducing our preeminent keynote speaker. Justice Rolando Acosta is a person of great intellect, vision, and compassion. He was born and spent his early years in the Dominican Republic. He moved to New York City at the age of 14, where he attended DeWitt Clinton High School in the Bronx and learned English as a second language. Following his high school graduation, Justice Acosta enrolled in Columbia College, where he demonstrated not only his intellectual prowess, but also his athletic ability as Columbia's starting pitcher in the Eastern Intercollegiate Baseball League, a precursor to the Ivy League. During his tenure at Columbia, he earned its Pitcher of the Year award in 1978 and 79. He also set records for career victories, season victories, and career strikeouts, some of which I understand he still holds. He was later inducted into the Columbia University Athletic Hall of Fame, and he also received the school's Medal for Excellence. Despite his athletic talent and skill, Justice Acosta made the decision to attend Columbia Law School rather than pursue a career in professional baseball. A very fortunate decision for the legal profession, the New York State court system, and the citizens of this state. Among other awards, he was the recipient, along with Judge Abdus-Salaam, of Columbia Law's Wien Prize for Social Responsibility. Before becoming a judge, he worked in various positions with the Legal Aid Society and as first deputy commissioner of the New York City Commission on Human Rights, where he authored the city's civil rights law. Justice Acosta's judicial career trajectory bears many similarities to my own, and even more so to Judge Abdus-Salaam's. He started as a judge of the New York City Civil Court, where he served for 5 years before becoming the first Dominican elected to the New York Supreme Court in New York County, where he served along with Judge Abdus-Salaam. While serving on the Supreme Court, he spearheaded the creation of the Harlem Community Justice Center, one of the early multi-jurisdictional problem-solving courts in the state. In 2008, Justice Acosta was appointed by Governor Eliot Spitzer to the position of Associate Justice of the Appellate Division, First Department. And on May 22nd, 2017, he was promoted by Governor Andrew Cuomo to Presiding Justice of that court. Aside from collaborating with Judge Abdus-Salaam on cases, they often enjoyed taking walks in Madison Square Park across from the courthouse to discuss and exchange ideas. They enjoyed a close personal relationship for over 30 years and supported each other both in their careers and in their private lives. As presiding justice of the Appellate Division First Department, he modernized the court's systems to make it more efficient and accessible to the public. For example, he instituted live streaming of oral arguments, launched a new case management system that allowed tracking of individual cases, and reduced the amount of time between oral arguments and publication of written decisions. Justice Acosta retired from the bench in 2023 and joined the prestigious law firm of Pillsbury Winthrop Shaw Pittman, where he has been involved in a wide variety of cases, from Major League Baseball disputes to eminent domain. He is also given wide latitude to provide pro bono services to people unable to afford private representation. He has stated that one of the primary reasons for his retirement was to have, well, if you call it a retirement, was to have the ability to voice his concerns about the rule of law and judicial independence, both on the state and federal levels. Justice Acosta has been described as a community-minded trial and appellate judge, deeply committed to community service, judicial independence, and judicial reform. Throughout his career and continuing to this day, he has been involved in numerous community organizations, professional associations, and as a trustee of Columbia University. He has received many awards for his accomplishments and contributions. He recently received the Cyrus R. Vance Tribute from the Fund for Modern Courts for his more than 25 years of distinguished service as a notable public figure who exemplifies Vance's legacy and who has made the New York court system more efficient, fair, and accessible to all. He epitomizes the principle of giving back to those less fortunate than he is, or who have yet to achieve the success that he has. On a personal note, I have known Justice Acosta for most of my 25-year judicial career. Like Judge Abdus-Salaam, he is one of the most affable, sincere, committed, and visionary individuals I have had the good fortune to meet. We are very grateful that Justice Acosta is here with us tonight to speak about Judge Sheila Abdus-Salaam that he knew and loved. And before I turn the microphone over to Justice Acosta, I want to note that we did a little research. And I can now congratulate him on again making history as the first male Kate Stoneman keynote speaker. With that, I give you Justice Acosta.
Thank you so much, Leslie. That was wonderful. Especially all the baseball stuff. I didn't get all that. Hello, everyone. I am thrilled to be here with you tonight for the prestigious Kate Stoneman Award ceremony. This evening, we honor four distinguished women. Of course, Sheila Abdus-Salaam, Judge Betty Ellerin, my PJ, always will be. Still remember those calls every time I issue a decision. Whether she liked it or disliked it, I always got that call that morning. And of course, Kimberly Petillo-Décossard, congratulations. And Dean Alicia Ouellette. All of our honorees have been stalwart supporters of women in the legal profession and have, through their talent, determination, and generosity of spirit, inspired and empowered female attorneys to overcome obstacles, expand their horizons, and to dream big. And it is my sincere honor and privilege this evening to speak in behalf of this year's recipient of the Miriam M. Kate Stoneman Award, my friend of over 30 years, Judge Sheila Abdus-Salaam, a trailblazing jurist, a remarkable woman, and my dear and cherished friend. As Judge Stein, sorry, Leslie, as she mentioned, you know, Sheila and I were friends for a long, long time. We first met in the early 80s as fellow Columbia Law School alums when we were first introduced by mutual friends. I immediately felt a kinship with her. Our relationship blossomed into a close personal relationship. And we were even lucky enough to work together in the Katz administration first, when she was at the Department of Labor Services and I was at the Human Rights Commission. And of course, we served together at the Appellate Division First Department. And I am delighted to tell you a little bit about her. So Sheila Ann Turner was born on March 14, 1952, 2 years before the Supreme Court issued its landmark ruling in Brown versus Board of Ed. And as an aside, I know they were acknowledged before, but I know Christine Johnson and her daughter, Monette is here, Monette Stanford Turner and Shireen Turner. So it's wonderful to see you again. And I know I want to acknowledge, and I know that Leslie did it, but I want to acknowledge Leslie Wall, who was her court attorney. Sheila's a court attorney for over 17 years, and he was a dear friend of her. And I know, you know, in preparing my remarks today, she was so helpful in recalling some of the many wonderful memories that we had with Sheila. So Sheila was the great-granddaughter of slaves. And was raised in a working-class family in Southeast Washington, D.C., and attended public schools, and public schools that were still segregated more than a decade after the Supreme Court's decision in Brown. As the saying goes, she was not born on third base. But despite her humble beginnings, Sheila made the most of herself. She overcame a less than stellar public education and with the encouragement of a high school teacher that who basically recognized Sheila's promise and encouraged her to apply to Barnes. So to Sheila's surprise, when she applied, she got accepted with a full scholarship. And she took this opportunity by storm. She never forgot the high school teacher and always talked about him and in fact used them as an inspiration as an adult. That's why Sheila felt so strongly about serving as a mentor and a role model for so many women and students of color. So after graduating from Barnes, Sheila attended Columbia Law School. Of course, not surprisingly, Sheila shot the lights out in law school and was named the Charles Evan Hughes Fellow. Hughes, as many of you know, was a Columbia Law School graduate, but he was also the Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court from 1930 to 1941 and had an extraordinary public service career and is credited with leading the court into a period of protecting civil liberties. Time would reveal that Sheila was actually the perfect person to be the Charles Evan Hughes Award at Columbia. So Sheila would often say that she was inspired by civil rights attorney Frankie Muse Friedman, who spoke at Sheila's high school graduation, telling her of her experiences as an NAACP lawyer, bringing landmark civil rights cases, and challenging segregation in public school and public housing. Sheila took that inspiration and channeled it into a magnificent career in public service. She began as a staff attorney at East Brooklyn Legal Services Corporation. It seems particularly fitting to me that Sheila is receiving the Miriam M. Award tonight. As I understand that Ms. Netter was president of the Legal Aid Society. As Sheila once explained in remarks given at Columbia Women of Color Empowerment Conference, and I'm quoting her now, like the lawyers here in this room and the students, I knew that community service is part of an attorney's job description. As poor as we were growing up, my folks taught me to help others. As a teenager, I had heard the clarion call for social justice, unquote. So speaking to the conference in 2018, Sheila cautioned that legal services was fighting for its life in the face of the budget proposed by the presiding administration. Sadly, as we stand here today, the past is prologue, and this concerns greater today than ever. After working at Brooklyn Legal Services, Sheila joined the New York State Department of Law as an assistant attorney general in the civil rights, and then later became the general counsel for the New York City Office of Labor Services in the Katz administration, while I worked very close by at the Human Rights Commission. She was then elected to the civil court bench and began her distinguished judicial career. So Sheila, of course, continued her community involvement even after taking the bench. For example, she was a founding director and first board chair of the Women's Housing and Economic Development Corporation, or WEDCO. WEDCO is a not-for-profit organization headquartered in the Bronx, which develops affordable housing for poor women and their families and provides them with job training, education, and skills to become business owners. She was a strong believer in being service-oriented. And of course, she was a terrific collaborator, which also served her very well once she became an appellate judge. Once Sheila established her reputation as a stellar judge, she drew a lot of attention from the legal community, and in particular, law students and young lawyers. She was widely admired, and it seemed everybody wanted to know her and seek her guidance. This became even more so following her historic appointment to the New York State Court of Appeals. Now, to know Sheila was to understand how fitting it was for her to be the one chosen in 2013 to be the first African-American woman judge of the Court of Appeals. Her sensibilities, her life experience, her intelligence, and her humanity made her the perfect fit, I believe, for the court. And she was a trailblazer and an inspiration, as I believe Kate Stoneman was, who I imagine needed a great deal of determination and vision to become the first female graduate of this wonderful law school, as well as the first woman admitted to practice in New York State. I didn't know Kate Stoneman. She was a little bit before my time. But she must have been intrepid. Of course, as it was Sheila. And I can tell you that Sheila had a quiet strength to her that propelled her. She led by example and with an understanding of things larger than individual desires and individual goals. I consider myself incredibly fortunate to have known Sheila. Even more impressive than Sheila's appointment to the Court of Appeals were her phenomenal accomplishments once she got there. Her keen intellect, indefatigable work ethic, and powers of earnest persuasion resulted in important decisions, and I think Leslie pointed to that. And I think important decisions that will continue to positively impact the lives of New Yorkers for years to come. I'll just give you one example, and just one because there's so many. A decision Sheila authored for the majority of the court that affected countless rent-stabilized tenants in New York. This case involved Veronica Santiago, an 80-year-old widow in the East Village of Manhattan, who had lived in her rent-stabilized apartment for over 50 years. After she filed for bankruptcy, her landlord offered to buy out Mrs. Santiago's lease, with the money to go to Mrs. Santiago's creditors. Not wanting to lose her apartment, Mrs. Santiago argued to the bankruptcy court that her rent-regulated lease was exempt from her bankruptcy estate. I won't get into the history of the litigation, but the case ended up at the Court of Appeals. Sheila wrote for the 5-2 majority, and I see you smiling, Michael. And you too, Caitlin. So Sheila wrote for the 5-2 majority of the court when she concluded that affordable housing is an essential need and that the tenant could not be forced to sell her rent-regulated lease into bankruptcy. Now, the decision, of course, created big news, especially in New York City. Sheila was touched to hear that some of her former colleagues at the State Attorney General's office had actually cried with joy, proud that she had been one of them and that she was continuing to steadfastly protect the rights of the underdog. She was that type of person. If you know her, she had an impact that never left you, and you felt invested in Sheila's accomplishments. Now, once Sheila became the first woman African-American judge in the Court of Appeals, she was a legal rock star in high demand. The New York State Bar Association, the New York County Lawyers Association, the New York City Bar, the New York Women's Bar Association, Med Bar, and Association of Black Women Attorneys, just to name a few, all sought her presence at their events. Not to mention, of course, Barnard and Columbia, which wanted their star alumnus in attendance as often as possible. Sheila, was essentially a very shy individual and very soft-spoken and didn't relish the spotlight. She really didn't. But she nonetheless recognized that her groundbreaking appointment to the Court of Appeals made her a symbol and an inspiration for so many people, and she embraced that role. She put herself out there, accepting never-ending speaking engagements and honors, mingling with the attendees, and giving them her personal attention. Sheila not only showed up, giving her time so selflessly, but she was also present. Sheila was an excellent listener, which made her a superb mentor and also a great judge. Some of you would be surprised at how many judges are not good listeners. Even though, of course, listening is a key ingredient of judging, right? Now, when folks spoke to Sheila, they felt like they were being heard. She paid attention, she cared. She wasn't looking around the room to move on to someone else. And I think Leslie pointed that out. She spoke to everyone the same exact way, no matter that person's professional stature or accomplishment. She was incredibly approachable. Sheila's personality, her innate civility, her warmth, and her stellar reputation as a judge made her the perfect role model for young attorneys. As an example, she was a regular at the New York County Lawyers Association's Lunch with a Judge program, making herself available to summer associates. She was pulled in a million different directions, and she had a hard time saying no when asked to help out with a worthy cause. Sometimes she would get so booked that she will call me. I will hear that soft voice at the end of the phone saying, "Bro, can I help you? Can you help me here? This group needs a judge to participate, or that group needs someone that will give them the attention necessary." Her chamber staff, and I know that Leslie spoke about her court attorney, Debbie Wall. They tried so hard to head off any requests that were made to chambers, knowing that once someone got to Sheila, inevitably the answer will be yes. Now, there's many stories of students and young lawyers timidly approaching Sheila at an event to introduce themselves, only to end up with her as their mentor and supporter. She would meet with them at night and on weekends to accommodate their busy lives. And of course, that included my own daughter, Zila. Now, I thought, and I don't want to go too long, but I thought I'll give you just one story that I think is vintage Sheila. When she was a Court of Appeals judge interviewing attorneys for a clerkship, an ADA from the Bronx applied for the position. She did not offer him the job. Sometimes later, she was attending the Ida B. Wells Award ceremony in honor of Black History Month, presented by the Metropolitan Black Bar Association and the New York County Lawyers Association. Where else would she be? Resting? Now, when this ADA, who was also in attendance, approached her to say hello, of course they chatted, and he casually asked her why she had not hired him as her clerk. When I say Sheila was accessible, I meant it. That young attorney must have sensed somehow that Sheila would not mind the question. Evidently, she told him why, and then they had a heart-to-heart talk. This led to a friendship, and they would meet regularly for lunch to talk and discuss his career. She told him that he should apply again in the future. I mean, that was Sheila in a nutshell. And P.S., maybe Sheila did miss the boat with a young man as he went on to clerk at the Ninth Circuit and then become a U.S. attorney. So Sheila really cared and genuinely enjoyed her interactions with law students. As some of you probably know, Professor Bonventry, and I saw you, Vin. Yeah, there he is in the back. He would bring his class to the Court of Appeals to hear arguments. He said about Sheila that she didn't have the attitude of, quote, "You're lucky to be speaking with me." It was exactly the opposite, he says. She was thrilled. She will be very, very candid about how tough the cases were, open about the fact that voting in the cases was closed, and that she struggled with how to vote, unquote. So, you know, Sheila had a generosity of spirit that I believe lifted and motivated the young people to whom she was so devoted. I could go on and on about my friend Sheila, but I think it is time to wrap up. But before I end, I cannot discuss Sheila without mentioning what a great dancer she was. I'm sure many people do not know this, but Sheila loved to boogie. And she did it with as much grace as she lived her life and dispensed justice. She was the life of the party at my daughter's wedding, for example, dancing the night away with her husband, Greg. For those of us who are lucky enough to have known her, Sheila is still dancing in our hearts. It is my belief that our lives are measured by the impact that we have in the life of others. I think we are valued when we labor, not for ourselves alone, but with an eye towards building a world better than the one we have known. And I think that by that measure, Sheila was a real giant. She inspired us with her vision, and I believe brightened our world with her kindness. She had an unending passion for public service and social justice, and she dedicated her life to serving others, particularly the young lawyers who share the same lofty goals and passions that I believe motivated her. I will say that the world is not the same without her. But even in her absence, I believe that Sheila continues to inspire us. She certainly inspires me to treat others with compassion and to look out for the downtrodden. If Sheila were here, I think that she will tell you, particularly some of the young folks in the audience, that the best way to highlight the nobility of the profession is to never forget the importance of impacting the life of others, particularly those that have difficulty accessing the justice system. She would say that while prestige or financial concerns are legitimate, the desire to make a difference or serve others is paramount. That authentic success is measured not by the toys that we wind up accumulating, but by the joy that we derive from service to justice and the very idealistic goals that brought us to the profession in the first place. So I want to thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts about my friend Sheila. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I need
That's
to.
okay. Oh, you should let me that.
Well, wow. What else can I say after all of that inspiration? That was just truly amazing. Thank you all for contributing to this wonderfully inspirational evening. To cap off this incredible night, we have an exciting raffle by Women's Law Caucus where there are fabulous baskets outside you can bid on, and proceeds go to the Albany County Crime Victims and Sexual Violence Center. In closing, while gender equality is a concept most people can agree upon theoretically, Kate Stoneman actually personified it in reality. She has inspired countless law students, future lawyers, and more. Kate Stoneman and her legacy remind all of us how much progress we have made in the area of gender equality in the law. Yet, of course, we are reminded daily, these days hourly, how much more progress we still need to make. Thank you for helping us get there one step at a time. On behalf of Albany Law School, thank you so much for being with us tonight. Please save the date for October 16th for our Kathryn D. Katz annual lecture. And now please join us for a wonderful food and wine reception in the East Foyer. Thank you for being here.